Welcome to Rewrite Reality with Jillian Grace, the podcast leading the global shift in transformation through frequency, quantum healing, and energetic mastery. I'm your host, Jillian Grace, architect of energetic alignment, and for 20 years, I've been a pioneer of integrating self-transformation for thousands of souls. Each week, we answer the questions that keep you stuck and deliver high-frequency tools to heal and evolve every layer of your being. Join me to elevate your vibration, rewrite your reality, and activate the life your soul remembers. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Rewrite Reality with Jillian Grace. On this episode, we are going to cover the energetics of the masculine and feminine. We are going to cover how we have changed those roles so dramatically with what the narrative has driven to all of us that we've actually confused what the core of creation is. And we are going to walk through a talk down at the end of this podcast where I will help you integrate some of these energies back into your field so that you can direct them in the direction that they were intended to go. First, before we begin, I want to take a moment to explain a few things. As I move through this podcast, I'm going to be referring to the masculine and feminine energy. And at times, I'm going to refer to the feminine energy as energy that is driven from females or from women, and the masculine energy as energy that's driven from males or from men. However, that can also be different depending on certain circumstances. But 90% of the time, the feminine energy is usually the female that holds that frequency, and the masculine energy is usually the male that holds that frequency. Now, it's also important to understand that every single one of us, male or female, has both within us. However, there's a predominant frequency that carries our vibration. Therefore, most females have more of a feminine frequency, and most males have more of a masculine frequency. And how the two of those interconnect are actually very important and extremely valuable. But in our society, we are being taught that the two almost have to be pitted against one another, or that whatever one you are more dominant in is bad, and you have to develop the other one. So let me explain that a little bit clearer. In our society right now, we're telling girls that they need to be strong and they need to be protectors and they need to take care of themselves. And we're telling men that they need to listen and they need to be more compassionate and they need to be more sensitive. And while having those things present in who you are is important, we're demonizing what the truth behind being a masculine frequency and what a feminine frequency really means. And the polarity of needing both is what is detrimental in order for any of us to grow, not only as a society, but as souls in general. So throughout history, there's been an awareness that there are polarities and there's quantum laws that involve these polarities. The magnetism between separate polarities attract each other. So the masculine energy attracts the feminine energy and vice versa. The reason for that is because the core of creation involves both. The feminine energy is designed to nurture. It's designed to care for. Is designed to create. The masculine energy is designed to protect. It's designed to help bring into the common form or the physical form. It's designed to be the strength. And all too often in the environment that we're in this world, we are being taught that it is negative for us to want to be our natural creation. So we tell little girls that it's no longer of value to be a nurturer, that they have to learn how to be someone who is on the masculine end of things, who is the protector, who is the provider. And we fragment the frequency of what the feminine is designed to be bringing into the world. By doing so, we are breaking down and weakening our structure instead of strengthening our structure. Words like feminism, words like toxic masculinity, those words carry vibrations that instead of empowering are actually drawing away from the power that the energy that flows between polarities is designed to create. In a relationship, in a connection, you have to have the vibration of both, the masculine and the feminine. You have to have the ability to have the one who births the creation and the ability to have the one who takes that creation and brings it into form, who protects that creation. This was present throughout all of ancient history, and it's not a surprise for that energy to be coming alive within each one of us and the necessity for that to be the case. So I want to allow this podcast to speak to you on an intuitive level. I want the words that I am articulating to be things that you feel on the inside. You maybe not be able to fully grasp them on the outside, but being able to step away and feel how they feel in your frequency is my most important intention, because I am going to be providing you with a transmission of knowledge that is going to be teaching you about the polarities that strengthen us rather than using them as weaknesses for us. And I'm going to be reigniting within you the truth of those frequencies in a society that has been trying to strip them away for quite some time. Together, we're going to gain this strength and we're going to move forward step by step. So I want you to take a deep breath and move forward as we talk about this and we break down the power of the masculine and feminine together. Okay, first I want to start by getting you to understand that when you're in a relationship, there is a level of attraction that takes place. And that attraction goes beyond just a physical appearance. That attraction is an energy. It's a vibration that you feel in another. And vibrations of attraction usually involve different aspects in which people are compatible or souls have a compatibility. And in the world of how we are attracted to someone, there is a magnetism that surrounds people and brings them together. And that magnetism is being able to fill the other end of a frequency. Our ancients were aware of this. They were aware of the yin and the yang. They were aware of the fact that there were two separate charges, negative charge and positive charge, and that those charges would come together. We see this even in the quantum. Those charges come together against all odds to connect. In the feminine and masculine world, or in the world of individuals, there is feminine and masculine energy that comes together to create a whole. And when those energies come together, their differences and their frequencies of being able to channel those differences is what creates strength. So the feminine frequency, which nurtures, which is the magic, it brings an idea to life. It needs then the masculine frequency to protect it, to see it through, to be the strength. And when we are in a society that teaches the feminine frequency that its value is being able to do it all themselves and is being able to handle and be strong and be the masculine vibration and the feminine all in one, we're of course going to set people up for failure in relationships and in emotional connections, because that's not the intention of how the frequency flows. And those two coming together, the masculine and the feminine, creates a strength that is unmatchable. In a society that teaches that those qualities need to be fully contained by an individual and they can't be connected to another individual. So, in other words, in a society that teaches boys that they need to be extremely emotional and they need to carry as much feminine energy as they do masculine energy, and teaches girls that they need to be extremely powerful and they need to carry as much masculine energy as they do feminine energy, they essentially create incompatibility amongst each other that starts to be driven at a soul level at a very young age. And in turn, as that soul begins to grow, it can't figure out its place in the energy and in the world around them. It's one of the reasons why we're dealing with such a large rise in mental health conditions. And we're seeing younger generations struggle dramatically to make any type of emotional connection. They were ingrained with concepts that went against the frequency of the vibration of what we are. Human frequency has a connection, it has a vibration. And the creation has to involve both the negative and positive charges. So by teaching people and by teaching souls that they can't be what their soul intended to be, then you are fragmenting them and allowing them to be placed in environments that are not optimal for them to move forward. So essentially, the whole schematic that we have of teaching souls to grow up and children to grow up, and even in our current generations that are already grown up, is a flawed concept. In every connection in union, there needs to be an alpha and there needs to be a beta. And those two energies together create a whole, and they need each other. So, in order for the masculine energy to be successful, or for a man to be optimally successful, it needs the power of the feminine to hold the creation in balance, to hold the birthing of that frequency alive, to be the magic. And in order for a feminine energy or a female to find that they feel fulfilled and are successful, they need a masculine energy or a male or a polarity opposite to bring that creation into safety, to nurture it, and to let them know that they're safe in the process, and to put together the analytics that go on behind the scenes to allow that to thrive. Each need each other. So let me ask you why we live in a society where the narrative is to push those apart. And let me take that a step further and ask you why we listen to it on any level. Because when you look at the way we're being taught and the way we are trying to teach the youth as they are growing, we are giving them all of the levels of power, and we are breaking them down so they don't have strength. Because everything has to have a wholeness in order to succeed. And we are in the middle of breaking apart that wholeness and looking at what's happening as the human race in and of itself weakens, and we can't find the answers as to why that's occurring, when the answer energetically is very clear. We are not honoring our truths. We aren't allowing the feminine energy to be what it is. We aren't allowing the masculine energy to be what it is. And then we are teaching both of those energies that they can be independent of one another, and that the other is the demon or the other version of what they are trying to get away from, as opposed to accepting it's what they need.
Before we continue, let's take a breath. You're here for a reason, not by accident, not by coincidence, but through divine orchestration, and these words were meant for you. This is your moment to rewrite humanity. Think of one soul in your life who needs this transmission and send them this podcast episode now. There are so many out there who are silently struggling. Our role is to reach them, to ignite something ancient and true, whether it's someone you love, someone lost in the noise, or someone ready to remember who they are. This is your chance, because vibrational awareness doesn't just shift minds, it realigns lifelines. It reawakens paths. It reconnects souls to their original blueprint. Be the bearer of that light. It isn't just generous, it's sacred work. Share this, speak it, seed it. This is more than a podcast. It's a movement, and you're a vital part of it. Let's rewrite humanity together, one frequency, one soul, one remembrance at a time. Now we continue.
This has been something that's been very challenging to watch the human race do as we're tearing each other apart in so many different ways. because when you understand the energetics of it, you can see that we're actually giving away our power and allowing these ideals to become our control. And so many are feeling like this doesn't work for them. There are so many women out there that feel like they don't want to be in those 9 to 5 roles. They don't want to be in the role of being the provider. They want to be taken care of. There's so many men out there that don't want to be in the role of having to be overly sensitive, of having to be extremely aware of every emotional outburst that their female counterparts go through, of having to be lost in that creation or troubleshooting every single step. And that's because those energies simply weren't designed to do so. They're different strengths that each one of us have. And the unity of coming together is what brings that into power. I know that's hard for some people to hear, especially since we've grown up in such a feminist environment where there's such a push for women to be fully independent. But if women were happy in the roles of being fully independent, then why has mental health in women completely collapsed within the past 20 to 30 years? It's because the vibration of their truth is being distorted. And I'm not going to blame that distortion to be just of the past 20 and 30 years. That distortion began when we decided, or when society started to push such a patriarchal ideal of what was best for the world and society. So the masculine energy, the negative qualities of the masculine energy started to become so celebrated for such a long period of time that that energy simply grew too strong and started to abuse the feminine energy. So in order to take the power back, the feminine energy started to push back. And that balance became a struggle for quite some time. But we're on the precipice of that balance really beginning to take form, and the feminine really being able to rise into its own power, into our universal energy, to where we don't need the validation of the outside world. We don't need to carry all of it because the feminine is becoming such a strength. And it's important to understand that during that recalibration, we're going to have to step back into that polarity of knowing the masculine and feminine and what their roles are, and being okay with that and not demonizing the other side. I see this a lot in relationships and people and that are clients of mine that struggle to have connections. And it's the classic situation of a female who wants to do it all themselves, who wants to be the top executive, who wants to be the one who provides everything, who wants to be able to handle everything on their own. But at the same time, the actual core of that female wants to be loved and nurtured and cared for. And when you're all of those aspects in one, and you are leading with the masculine frequencies that are within you, when truly your vibration is leaning towards wanting to be the feminine frequencies, you aren't compatible with a masculine frequency male. So I'll find that those women, while they want to seek a strong partner, they're not compatible with a strong partner because they are masked in their own strength so deeply that they're not able to disengage from that and allow that energy to flow and allow someone to be their protector. We are in a confusing environment, especially in our dating world, for both men and women right now, where both of them can't figure out how they're compatible because they're being taught that the qualities that make them separate are actually the qualities that they should be afraid of and that they should stay clear of. And those two opposites, those two polarity disengagements, are becoming a detrimental problem in our society, in personal relationships, and also an energetic frequency. Now, I'm going to paint you a picture of what happens when two individuals do not allow that level of engagement to be what controls them. When a feminine energy is allowed to nurture the environment, that may be in the home, it may be in their place of where they are together as a couple, and they're able to decorate that space and put that space together and make sure there's nutritious meals, and they're also able to nurture anything that they bring into that space, then the feminine can also create ideas. They'll empower the masculine to be stronger. And that masculine energy will then go in what they do and how they create and how they feel. The vibration they give off will be of more power. So they will be more successful. And it will then in turn create more flow to come back into the entire environment as a whole. So both of them will benefit from both of those frequencies. The problem is the only thing society wants to value is money. And because the masculine energy is the one that is designed to be the stability from a financial standpoint, it seems like the only value that is in the world is based on their value alone. When a man can't reach his optimal success without a woman. And I know that's going to be controversial for so many people. And it's not just only man and woman. The masculine energy cannot reach its optimal level of success without a feminine frequency behind it. And we've seen this throughout history. You have heard of so many major figures where their wife or their spouse was actually heavily involved in whatever they were creating or whatever they were doing to bring it into light. There are so many prime examples of this throughout history, and the powerful women that have been behind the men that they have been standing next to. The power that two polarities can create together is stronger, more connected, and more sustainable than the power of one polarity moving forward independently. And that is something that in society is such taboo, no one wants to say it. But the markers of it and the proof of it throughout history are blatantly clear. What we yield within when we are together in the connection of what we are intended to be, masculine and feminine beings coming together in that powerful union, is the epitome of creative power at its finest. And all too often, when I see people struggle, it's because they are so caught in the narrative of needing to be or do it all that they are no longer compatible to an energy that can come in and help them become the frequency they were supposed to be. And they, in turn, can be a supporting role to help that other frequency become what it was intended to become as well. And all of that is because of ego, because we want the world to think that we're successful based on a set of rules that actually weakens energy at the core. It's a set of rules that's based on diagnostics that are related solely to financial and material gain. And when we all set ourselves to that standard, then the foundation of creation crumbles. And the material gain and the focus begins to take over like a drug. And that's what we have seen happen throughout our history in the world we're in right now. And we are in the middle of unfoiling that. And as we're unfoiling that, it's going to be a beautiful reawakening of watching that feminine energy rise back into its power, and also watching that masculine energy be able to sustain that frequency, hold that frequency, and stand by it in its truth. So I want to encourage every one of you out there, start to remove from your language the word feminism. Remove from your language the word toxic masculinity. Remove from your language that everybody needs to have a job and support themselves. Remove from your language that you can do it all alone, because that's not the way you intended to do it. You intended to be a polarity and a frequency, and surrendering and allowing that is where you're going to achieve the happiness that is going to help your mental health and the mental health of the community and the collective to rise to what we have been waiting for. And that's happening step by step. Now, here's a little background of what we've always known throughout societies and throughout ancient cultures that speaks to what that frequency truly is. There's always been written truths, every single back culture that has taught us the power of both of these energies coming together. And sometimes finding the answers is about going backwards so that you can move forward. Now, before we go into the ancient history behind the polarities of the masculine and feminine, I want to handle a sort of a taboo topic that not a lot of people like to talk about. And it's because of the society's way of the description of human and female and male interactions. And that topic is sex and the power of frequency that occurs during sex. So we've been taught that sex is an exchange of power in a way that it truly isn't. We've been taught that it's an animalistic way of making a connection, that it's purely based on just a procreation, and that it can only be valuable or it's only based in just passion, when the truth of connection is actually much deeper than that. So when we understand the power of what happens when the masculine and feminine energies come together, we truly get a snapshot at what creation is at its most micro level. And we get the opportunity to see how macro and how powerful it becomes in the whole nature around us. So when we work through the ideals between sexual relationships, the energy that gets exchanged, and many tantric traditions cover this. So I am going to strongly encourage anyone who's interested in this to read more about those connections. But what's happening during that exchange is a release of ecstasy type emotions. And that's what the orgasm feeling is. It's a release of DMT in the brain. And I just want to take a quick moment here to also reiterate that we're not talking just a breakdown of DMT, which is so hard for science to really monitor during the point of an orgasm. We are talking the release of so many different elements of hormones during an orgasm that take place that are all related to triggering neurochemicals that open up our entire energy field, everything from dopamine to oxytocin to serotonin, and so many different endorphins have actually been confirmed. And the power of all of those things coming together is such a huge telling to us as souls of the power of what's taking place, and that it's not just an animalistic behavior. It's so much deeper than that. Now, those of you who understand different ways of altering your consciousness. So, when we talk about what people experience when they are in ayahuasca ceremonies, and we talk about what people experience with some ceremonies with mushrooms, and we talk about what happens during some meditation levels where people reach euphoric environments, when we talk about the rise of the Kundalini, which is an energy flow that goes up your spine that our ancients knew about, and it triggered enlightenment. The release of DMT is a strong part of that because our ancients were aware of that flow of energy and the magnetic energy that released, the frequency and vibration coming from that, and how powerful it was in creation. So when you are in a relationship and you're a masculine energy and a feminine energy coming together in that creative environment, you aren't just creating an experience together. You're actually creating a frequency that can help you to take that power within each other and expand it. But what we've been taught in our society is that when we engage in that, it's almost an act of animalistic behavior. It's meant to be, quote unquote, a sin. And I'm going to err on the side to say that that was done purposefully. So we never truly understood the power of the union between the masculine and the feminine energy, and how the release of that frequency releases the core of what our creation comes from. And channeling that appropriately creates a powerful vibration that is unmatchable by anything outside of our field of what we are as human beings. Understanding what a sexual connection is at a core energetic level is a huge part in being able to expand and enlighten as you move forward as a soul. And when we are looking at the masculine energy and we are in a society that tries to demonize both of them in different ways, we're actually devaluing what happens during that exchange. And then when we take the actual physical connection between the masculine energy and the feminine in an environment of creation, and we demonize that through different religious practices and dogma, we take away how powerful those moments are and what we're truly choosing to do. I always tell clients of mine, especially couples, that understanding the exchange that's taking place, you're shifting power. You're coming together to be a full, whole form. And if you can learn how to channel that and direct it, you are absolutely unstoppable. And our ancients knew that. So now we're going to take a peek at what some of our ancients understood and different practices that have always been in the background that many of us don't gain the ability to get more knowledge about because they're not in the mainstream. But these concepts and this idea of the masculine and feminine is nothing new. And it's been written in our history, even in with mythology, of the power and strength of those two coming together to become a dominant force as one. There are so many different blueprints in our past that really talk about the energetic connection between the masculine and feminine and the importance. One of them is the power between Shiva and Shakti. This was like the cosmic blueprint of masculine and feminine energies. It birthed that tantric cosmology where Shiva represents pure consciousness, which is the male principle. Shakti represents dynamic energy, which is the female principle. So we see this all throughout time. We also have the Taoist polarity with the yin and the yang, different aspects between the male and the female, the yin being the feminine, the yang being the masculine. They are a complementary force that have to be generated together in order to expand. And you even see this in the Magdalene mysteries when it comes to the sacred power of sexual and feminine power. Mary Magdalene was referred to in the ancient traditions as the priestess of the womb of mysteries, the embodiment of sacred sexuality, moon wisdom, and divine feminine rights. Her energetic connection with Christ or Jesus was seen as a spiritual anointing. She was transmitting the feminine power as a catalyst to embody the Christ consciousness. This is the sexual union between the energetic exchange between the physical and the masculine. It's been present in every single theology. If you really break down to it, I'm just giving you a few of the most predominant ones, and you can go off on whatever kind of research level you want in order to find more information about them. Last that was really present was the Kundalini. It's the serpent energy that was in the base of the spine, and it was awakened through the sacred union of breath, intention, the male, the female. In Tantra, that energy is a gateway to pure consciousness. It is not something that needs to be suppressed. It needs to be honored, channeled, and allowing it to flow. These are all really powerful parts of understanding our truth and what that energy frequency of the masculine and feminine, not only inside of us in a union, but also being able to express in our outer world and in our relationships needs to look like in order for us to flourish. So I want all of you to understand the depth of this and how powerful it is when you step into that creation, no matter what side you are, and then you choose to move forward. And then having the awareness in your partnership of what role you're in will also help to give you some power and some clarity about your interactions, and also honoring both of them equally. Because right now we're in a society where mainly the masculine frequencies are being honored. We're about to see that flip of the coin where a lot of the feminine frequencies are going to be honored and a lot of the masculine frequencies are going to be demonized. And I'm going to encourage all of you to stop that train before it starts, because we did it before. It hasn't worked. There's no reason to flip the coin and do it again. Be more powerful, be more aware, and be more intellectually understanding of what frequency truly is and the power and magnitude that we heal every day. Okay, now we are going to do our guided talk down, which is going to help you to understand the frequencies a little deeper and to integrate them within your field. So I want you to either be in a quiet place if you can, or if you're doing this while driving, you can repeat the words that I am saying to you as I repeat them and allow them to filter through your energy as we step into this connection and we awaken this frequency inside of us and we begin to embody the balance in the dance of the masculine and feminine together. Begin by finding a comfortable place where you can be seated or you can listen without interruption. Inhale slowly and exhale gently. With each breath, allow yourself to soften into presence. Now bring your awareness to the center of your body. This is your energetic core, right in your solar plexus. Imagine two streams of energy flowing within you. One is soft, fluid, nurturing. It holds space. It listens. It creates. This is your feminine frequency. The other is focused, grounded, activating. It protects. It builds. It moves forward. This is your masculine frequency. Both exist within you. Both are sacred. You may find that one of these lights, one of these strings of frequency, is much brighter than the other. Take a moment. Let that deep inner knowing guide you so you know your truth. Take a deep breath and allow every part of that energy to flow deeper and stronger within you. You're safe to express who you are. As you continue to breathe, allow these two energies to meet, not in conflict, but in harmony. Let those two chords of light intertwine. Let them dance. Let them spin together as they were always meant to be. Inhale and feel the feminine rise. Exhale and feel the masculine anchor. Now affirm to yourself, I honor the feminine within me. I honor the masculine within me. I am whole to express in the way that I desire. I choose relationships that reflect the energetic integrity I hold within. I calibrate to love, clarity, and sovereignty, and I anchor in my inner truth with pride. Take one final breath. Anchor in this energy and know you are aligned, you're empowered, and you are clear. Now move forward with your soul's intention because you know what that is. It's always been within you. I want to thank all of you so much for listening to this episode of Rewrite Reality with Jillian Grace. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope it helped you to gain some clarity on your energetics as I walk you through each week how to become the architect of your creation. I'll chat with you next week.
You've just tuned into Rewrite Reality with Jillian Grace, architect of energetic alignment and pioneer of integrated self-transformation. If this episode shifted your frequency, share it with someone you care about because one share can spark healing, alignment, and a ripple effect of transformation in someone's life. Submit your questions today at jilliangrace.com/ask and explore transformational tools, masterclasses, and frequency-based healing at jilliangrace.com. Join me every week to elevate your vibration, rewrite your reality, and activate the life your soul remembers.